Hey everyone, welcome 8th graders to today's explainer. Let's be real for a second. Sometimes math feels like it's actively trying to trick you by speaking entirely different languages, right? I mean, one minute it's just numbers, the next it's a bunch of shapes, and suddenly you're reading a massive paragraph about someone buying 50 watermelons. But today, we're going to master a true mathematical superpower. We are going to learn the skill of writing linear equations from absolutely any format. Whether you're staring at a grid, a list of numbers, or a dense paragraph of text, you are going to learn how to see the hidden matrix underneath the whole shebang. By the time we finish, you'll be able to extract the exact same truth from entirely different representations. So let's get right into it. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with one body, many forms. Second, unlocking the universal equation. Third, mastering the three formats. Then, time for your challenge. And finally, we'll wrap up with education, morality, and peace. Okay, let's dive right into section 1, one body, many forms. So, the big idea here is that math problems can sometimes feel like totally different species. A graph looks completely different from a word problem, right? But the truth is, even when they look wildly different on the surface, they are deeply, deeply connected. It's kind of like what 1 Corinthians 12:14 says, "For the body does not consist of one member, but of many." Just like the church has different members with completely different roles, some are teachers, some are helpers, some are leaders, they all belong to the exact same body. Well, math works the exact same way. Math problems come in different visual forms, like tables, lines on a graph, or written descriptions, but they all belong to the exact same body of knowledge. They're literally just different members doing the same job. Now, you might be wondering, why does this matter for you as an 8th grader? Well, because seeing these connections literally makes you a more flexible thinker. Out in the real world, data doesn't just get handed to you in one perfect format. Sometimes a boss will drop a spreadsheet table on your desk, sometimes you'll read an article with a complex graph, and sometimes you'll just hear a verbal description of a problem. When you recognize the underlying connections between all these formats, you become a far stronger mathematician. You become an elite problem solver who is genuinely ready for anything. Moving right along, let's hit section 2, unlocking the universal equation. So how do we actually find that hidden connection? Well, behold the slope-intercept model. You are going to see this equation y equals mx plus b a lot. Notice the two mission-critical parts here. First up is the slope, represented by the letter m. Think of m for movement. This is your rate of change, or your pattern. Second is the y-intercept, represented by b. Think of b for beginning. This is your starting value. No matter what a problem looks like, whether it's a picture or a paragraph, your only job is to become a detective and hunt down these two specific numbers, the rate and the starting value. Once you have them, you just plug them into this exact format. Let's move to section 3 and see how this builds. It's time for mastering the three formats. Okay, first up is a data table. Your job is to find the pattern, which is our slope m, and the starting value, our y-intercept b. Notice the y column. It goes from 10 to 12 to 14. What's the pattern there? It's going up by 2 every single time the x column goes up by 1. So our slope, our m, is positive 2. Now, where does this story actually begin? The starting value always happens when x equals 0. Look closely at that top row. When x is 0, y is 10. So our starting value, our b, is 10. And this brilliantly illustrates how easily we can extract those two numbers to form a precise, complete equation. We found our movement was 2 and our beginning was 10. We just plug them right into y equals mx plus b, and we get our final answer, y equals 2x plus 10. Boom. You just translated a table into a universal equation. Now what about a graph? It's basically a simple 3-step process. Step 1, we find 2 clear points where the line crosses the grid perfectly. Here, we've identified the points 0, 4, and 2, 8. Step 2, we find our slope, our m, by calculating the change in y divided by the change in x. Our y went from 4 to 8, which is a change of positive 4. Our x went from 0 to 2, which is a change of 2. So 4 divided by 2 gives us a slope of 2. Finally, we need our starting value, which is where x is 0. Looking at our first point, when x is 0, y is 4. That is our b. So step 3, we write the equation, y equals 2x plus 4. Example 3 brings us to a written description. Let's say you earn $8 per hour and start with $32. Now, what's really interesting here is how everyday English literally hands us our math variables if we just know what to listen for. The phrase per hour is our rate, our pattern of movement. That immediately means our slope, m, is 8. The phrase start with literally tells us our beginning value, our y-intercept, b, which is 32. Plug those in, and there it is. Y equals 8x plus 32. It's a completely different format, but the exact same logic.
All right, let's jump right into section 4. Time for your challenge.
You have seen the universal logic at work across tables, graphs, and descriptions. So now it's time to pivot to your homework challenge. I want you to really apply your flexible thinking here. We've got 2 challenges for you. For problem 1, notice the pattern in the y column. It goes 8, 11, 14. But hey, be careful. The table starts at x equals 1, not x equals 0. You are going to have to work backward to find your true starting value. Over on problem 4, the x column is actually skipping by 2s. Remember to divide your change in y by your change in x to find your true slope. And again, walk backward to find your 0 starting point.
And here are a few more challenges to really test your new universal equation skills. For graph 1, you have your 2 points, so find that rise over run. For the word problem, scan for those magic English phrases. What is the starting charge, and what's the per hour rate? Finally, for graph 2, notice that your starting point goes straight through the origin at 0, 0. Write these down, hunt for your m and your b, and build those equations. Finally, we arrive at section 5, education, morality, and peace.
As we wrap up the math side of things, let's just intentionally slow our pace down a bit to transition from math logic to life logic. Here at the HeroesMart Academy Godly Learners series, we firmly believe your math skills are only one part of your development. Education without morality will hurt. That's a foundational philosophy. We intertwine biblical morality with education because gaining immense knowledge and intellectual power without the character and morality to use it well inevitably leads to harm. If you only train your brain but totally ignore your character, your education just becomes a tool that can be misused. Instead, we're aiming for something much higher. Romans 8 promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. True peace, it doesn't just come from getting an A on a math test. It comes when we keep our minds focused spiritually as we learn, growing in wisdom and kindness just as much as we grow in algebraic thinking. That is the experience we want for you. Thank you so much for joining me today, 8th graders. Keep practicing, keep growing, and I will see you on our next explainer. But before you go, let this sink in as you master these linear equations and build your powerful, flexible minds. So, what is the point of being incredibly smart and supposedly highly educated if you continue to make bad choices that hurt?